I need you to imagine something. You get into an Uber after a long day, tired, ready to go home. The rain is falling hard, city lights blur through the windows, and all you can think about is getting under a warm blanket. But then the driver misses your turn. You ask him to stop. He looks at you in the mirror and says, "Your house is surrounded. I was sent to save you. My name is Ayla Brooks. I am 28 years old. I work in tech, and I live alone in a quiet neighborhood outside Seattle. I've always considered myself careful, but calm, not someone who panics easily. That night tested every bit of that confidence. Before I share what really happened, tell me where you're watching from, and don't forget to subscribe for more real-life stories that will keep you on the edge of your seat." It was a rainy Thursday night in Seattle. I had stayed late at the office finishing a last-minute software update. My head was pounding, and my eyes hurt from hours of staring at code. I just wanted peace, my small apartment, soft lights, and maybe some leftover pasta. I texted my sister Talia, a nurse who never sleeps normal hours. "Heading home," I wrote. She replied instantly, "Be careful, Ayla. Call me if anything feels off." She's always been protective since Dad passed away. Mom is the same, always trusting her gut. Earlier that morning, she'd said, "You've got my instincts, sweetheart. If something feels wrong, listen to it." I remember smiling at that. I wasn't scared of much. I lived in a safe area, worked hard, minded my own business. I had my routines. Same bus routes, same coffee shop, same Uber pickups when it rained. I was logical, not superstitious like Mom. That night, the rain was coming down in silver sheets. I didn't want to walk in it, so I ordered an Uber. The driver arrived in minutes. His name popped up as Marcus Hale. The car was spotless, the music low, the heater humming softly. "Long day?" he asked politely when I got in. "Yeah," I said, buckling up, ready to be home. He smiled a little, eyes steady but unreadable in the mirror. Everything seemed normal. I watched the city pass by. The wet sidewalks, reflections of neon lights, people rushing under umbrellas, the sound of rain mixed with the rhythm of the tires. And for a while, I felt safe. I checked my phone, scrolled through social media, and thought about what to eat. It felt like any ordinary night, until I realized the route looked unfamiliar. I leaned forward. My heart gave a small jump. Maybe he just took a shortcut, I told myself. But that quiet voice in my head, the one my mom called instinct, started to whisper, "If you're ready to find out what happened when I asked him to stop, subscribe now and tell me in the comments where you're watching from." I stared out of the window, watching the familiar streets fade behind us, and a sharp uneasiness settled in my chest. We were supposed to turn right 2 blocks ago. I knew my route, home by heart. Every tree, every old brick building, every gas station that glowed like a small beacon on rainy nights. Instead, the car rolled past my turn without slowing. My heartbeat picked up. I leaned forward, trying to sound calm. "Hey, you missed my street," I said, forcing a polite tone. Marcus kept his eyes on the road. "I know," he answered. Just those 2 words. No explanation. No apology. My back stiffened and a nervous chill spread down my arms. I swallowed. "Well, you need to turn around. My street is back there." He didn't respond. His hands tightened on the steering wheel. The windshield wipers beat fast, matching the rhythm of my breathing as anxiety crept in like cold air under a door. For a few seconds I froze, trying to rationalize it. Maybe he was avoiding traffic. Maybe the GPS updated, but there was no traffic, and my phone map still showed the original route. I lowered my voice, attempting calm again. "Can you pull over?" "No," he said. "Not yet." Those words dropped into my stomach like a stone. My fingers started shaking. I quickly opened my Uber app to report a wrong route or cancel, but it glitched and froze. The location marker spun as if the signal had been cut. I turned my screen to him. "The route isn't right. Please stop the car." He didn't look at me. His voice stayed steady. "I can't let you go home right now." A wave of fear washed over me. I gripped the door handle. It clicked, locked. My throat tightened. That was when panic tried its hardest to take over. Every true crime video I'd ever accidentally watched online came rushing into my mind. Women trusting the wrong person. Someone acting calm right before everything went bad. Instinct screamed inside me. I pressed back in my seat, trying not to sound desperate. "Why can't I go home?" "Because your house isn't safe." I stared at the side of his face, searching for a sign he was joking or mistaken. But he didn't even blink. His jaw was tense, his eyes forward, like he was driving into something serious. "My house is fine," I insisted, voice shaking. "Turn around right now." He exhaled hard, almost like he was wrestling with a truth he didn't want to share. "If you go home," he said, "something will happen to you. I'm trying to help. Help." The word made my skin crawl instead of comforting me. A stranger claiming to protect you without proof doesn't feel safe. It feels like a trap. I glanced around the car. No child lock button on my door. No window switches that I could find. My hands moved slowly to my bag, searching for my pepper spray. I quietly opened my messages and typed fast. "Something's wrong. He isn't stopping." I hit send to my sister, but a red exclamation mark popped up. Message failed. My stomach dropped. No signal, no way to call for help. I pressed harder. "Pull over. I'm not going to ask again." That was when he finally looked at me. Not angry, not frantic, but deadly serious. "Ayla, listen to me. Your house is being watched. I was sent to get you out before they move in." I froze. He knew my name. He knew my house. He said they. Who were they? My hands trembled. Every instinct screamed danger, but another part of me, the rational one, whispered questions. How would he know that? Why would someone target my house? Who sent him? None of it made sense. His phone buzzed with a coded alert sound, not a normal ringtone. He glanced, jaw tightening again. That tiny detail jolted me. It didn't sound like a regular phone alert, more like a police radio ping, but fear still won inside my mind. I wasn't going to sit and trust a stranger. I shifted, ready to unbuckle and throw myself out the moment the car slowed. I scanned the windows, the outside, the roads quickly passing by. We were leaving the busy area. Fewer streetlights, empty industrial buildings, the city life disappearing behind us like a door closing. "Ayla, please don't do anything dangerous," he said quietly, like he could read my thoughts. "I know this feels wrong, but your life is in danger." I didn't trust him. I didn't trust anyone in that moment. My heart beat so loud my ears buzzed. I held the pepper spray in my coat pocket, ready. I didn't know if he was lying, insane, or telling the truth, but I knew one thing. Whatever was happening was not normal. The night had shifted. The world felt different, and I had no idea what awaited me next, or if I would make it home at all. My pulse hammered like a warning drum in my ears as we drove deeper into an unfamiliar part of the city. Streetlights grew sparse. Buildings looked abandoned. The rain hit harder, streaking across the windshield like frantic brush strokes. Every part of me wanted to scream or throw myself out of the car, but another voice inside whispered that panic would only make things worse. I took slow breaths, trying to keep my mind sharp. Fear can make you freeze. Survival demands you think. I shifted slightly, enough to test if my seatbelt would unlock quickly. It did. Good. My hand stayed wrapped around my pepper spray, hidden in my pocket. The car slowed as we approached a red light. That window of opportunity opened inside my head, a moment where I could run, scream, bang on doors, anything. I prepared to move, but as I leaned forward, Marcus held up his palm gently. "Please don't," he said. His voice was low and steady, but there was urgency there, not force. "If you jump out now, you'll only make yourself a target. They are watching your house and your routes. I didn't go there because they are waiting. I'm trying to get you somewhere safe first." His words punched confusion into me. A target? Roots? What did that even mean? I swallowed hard and forced strength into my voice. "Why should I believe anything you say? Pull over and let me out right now, or I swear I will hurt you." My voice cracked slightly, but I meant every word. He nodded, like he respected the threat. "You should question me. You should be scared. But I did not come to hurt you. I was contacted to escort you away before something happened." "Contacted by who?" I demanded. My grip tightened on the spray. Every second felt like a blade pressed against my back, waiting to strike. Marcus reached slowly toward the center console. I tensed, ready to spray, but instead of a weapon, he picked up a black phone, thick, rugged, military style. He held it out toward me. "I can't give this to you yet, but I can show you something when we stop. I need you to hold on a little longer." "No," I snapped. "You show me now." "Ayla, I can't. If I unlock it here, they'll pick up the signal. We need to get out of sight." I paused, chest rising and falling sharply. There was fear in his eyes too. Not fear of me, fear of something bigger. That terrified me even more. The light turned green. The car rolled forward. I looked out and realized we were entering an industrial yard. Old warehouses, chain-link fences, parked trucks, and security lights flickering like dying stars. The kind of place where no one would hear you scream. My heart thudded painfully. I made a decision. If this was going to end badly, I wouldn't go quietly. I took a deep breath and shifted forward slightly, ready to lunge for the door when the car slowed again. My muscles tensed. Before I could act, a sudden vibration buzzed from Marcus's phone. He grabbed it quickly, glanced down, and a sharp breath escaped him. "We're late," he whispered. Then he turned off the car. My throat tightened. "Late for what?" He turned toward me, and this time his voice shook just a little. "A handoff. Someone is coming to take you the rest of the way. You'll see who sent me. I swear on my life, you are not in danger from me." My mind spun. A handoff? Rest of the way? My stomach churned. The car sat silent for a moment, engine off, rain pounding outside. I could almost hear my mother's voice. "Trust your instincts." My instinct said danger. My instinct also said something real was happening, and running blindly could be worse. I whispered to myself, "Stay alert. Don't trust. Don't freeze." Marcus lowered his tone, speaking gently but firmly. "If I wanted to hurt you, Ayla, I wouldn't have driven you out in public roads or talked to you this much. I would have done it already. I need you to decide if you want to survive or gamble." I hated that his logic made sense. Fear is heavy when truth hides behind it. I didn't know if he was a monster or a shield, but I knew running into the dark alone with no phone signal and no plan could kill me faster. The distant sound of tires splashing through puddles reached us. Headlights appeared far down the road, slowly approaching. "This is it," he murmured. I braced myself, every nerve on fire. My hand stayed ready on the spray. My legs coiled to run, if I had to. Survival mode sharpened inside me. I didn't know who was in that vehicle, or what truth was waiting, but one thing was certain. My life had already changed. There was no going back to the quiet girl who thought she was safe. I stared at the approaching lights, heart pounding like a battle drum. Whatever truth was coming would either protect me or destroy me, and I was ready to fight for my life either way. The headlights grew brighter and then split into two shapes as a black SUV rolled up beside us and stopped. My whole body felt like a live wire. Marcus killed the engine, and for a moment we sat in a pool of rain and light, neither of us moving. The SUV's passenger door opened, and a man I did not know stepped out, rain soaking his coat, but his posture steady, like someone who had been through worse and kept walking. He walked to our window, and for the first time he smiled in a small, careful way that tried to be kind and failed. "Ayla Brooks?" he asked. I managed a whisper, "Yes." He pulled a badge out from under his coat and showed it to me without the theatrics you see on TV. It was plain, not flashy, and his name on it read, Detective Rowan Pierce. His voice was calm and direct. "We'll explain on the move. Get out of the car slowly." My legs felt like jelly, but I did what he asked. Marcus opened my door and helped me step into the cold. And when I turned to look back, he gave me one last steady look like he was handing over something fragile. The detective guided me to the SUV, and a woman I recognized stood up from the back seat before I could sit. It was Talia, my sister, hair plastered to her forehead from the rain, eyes wide and raw with something that might have been guilt or relief. She closed the door behind me and reached for my hand like she might never let go. I wanted to scream questions, to demand answers, but all I could feel was that strange, split sensation of relief and terror. Inside the SUV, Detective Pierce told the story in pieces that snapped me awake. 2 hours earlier, a nurse at the hospital where Talia works had overheard a conversation between two men in a break room. They were talking in low voices about an easy house and a time window. Talia had told the nurse she thought someone was joking about a patient's address, but the nurse heard the street name, and it matched mine. She reported it to security, who alerted a detective they trusted. That detective was Rowan. He could not risk a normal patrol because whoever these men were had been watching routes and signals. They needed someone who could step in quietly, someone who could drive and keep a presence without spooking the suspects. Marcus, Rowan explained, is an ex-military driver with experience in protective extractions. He would look like a regular Uber driver, and that is exactly what he did. My breathing came faster as the pieces clicked, but I still could not breathe easily. "Why didn't you call me?" Talia asked, and her voice cracked like the edge of something breaking. She turned to me with a face I had not seen in years, raw, young, and full of fierce protectiveness. She had been the one to push the hospital nurse until the report was taken seriously. She had been the one who called Detective Pierce and demanded action. She had been the one who, in the middle of her shift, had refused to let this go. I felt my throat tighten, because the thought that she had been working in the background while I sat in ignorant comfort made me both ashamed and grateful. Rowan's phone buzzed and he glanced down, then looked up, his jaw tight. "We have footage from a neighbor's camera," he said, and my heart dropped harder. He played a clip on his phone. It was grainy but clear enough to make my stomach drop. A dark figure moving around the back of my house 2 nights ago. A shadow lingering at the gate. Careful. Patient. Rowan explained they found traces of cuts to an alarm box and some fresh footprints in mud. "They were preparing," he said bluntly. "They were watching Roots, waiting for you to come home." Those words landed like a slap. Images that had been flickers of anxiety now had teeth. I thought of my front door, my quiet hallway, the mug I had left on the counter that afternoon, and how normal it all had felt. Talia's hand squeezed mine so hard I felt the pressure in my bones. I wanted to cry and laugh and punch a wall all at once. Marcus stayed nearby, silent, the rain making his profile look like a statue. He met my eyes, and for the first time I saw exhaustion in him, not menace. "I'm sorry you had to find out this way," he said simply. It was the most human sentence he'd offered the whole night, and for a second I believed he meant it. Detective Rowan put a gentle but urgent arm around my shoulders, like I was someone he had to keep safe until the streets were secure. He explained they would take me to a safe house for the night, interview me, and then check who might have been targeting me and why. "We don't know the motive yet," he admitted. "Sometimes it is stolen property, sometimes personal grudges, sometimes the wrong address for a criminal plan. What matters is, you are not walking into that house tonight." My mind searched for reasons. Enemies I did not know, a neighbor I'd annoyed, some random danger, but nothing fit. The detective's words about motives sounded clinical and hollow in my chest. It did not matter why yet. What mattered was the sudden reality that plans had been made against me without my knowledge. Outside the SUV, the rain began to let up, and in the distance I could see the faint flicker of police lights, teams working quietly at my neighborhood. Rowan's phone rang again, and he stood up to take it, then turned to Talia and me. "We will get you answers," he said, voice hardening into steel. "We will find who did this and why." Talia rested her head against my shoulder, and for the first time that night I let myself cry. Not loud, not theatrical, just a small breaking sound that released the tight knot of fear and fury in my chest. I thought of Mom and her words about instincts. I thought of all the small precautions I had ignored because they felt like overreactions. I thought of how easily a life can tilt toward danger, and how, sometimes, salvation looks like a stranger who knows your name, and a sister who refuses to be quiet. In that cramped SUV, under the hum of the radio and the steady hands of people I had only just met, I felt the strange warmth of being protected, and the cold realization that nothing about my life would feel the same again. The safe house was quiet, the kind of silence that feels heavy after chaos. The rain had stopped, and the world outside seemed calm again, but I felt like I was floating in a different reality. I sat on the edge of a temporary bed, hands still trembling, the taste of fear and adrenaline lingering in my throat. Talia paced the room like she was afraid staying still would let everything sink in. I watched her movements, grateful, but also shaken by the thought of how close everything had come. Detective Pierce stepped inside, wiping a clipboard with his hand like he was trying to smooth out the wrinkles of the night. "We secured your home," he said. There were signs of forced tampering on the security box, and someone had moved the trash bins to block one exit route. "They knew your schedule, or thought they did. You not arriving tonight threw their timing off." His words dropped like stones, settling into every part of me. Someone had planned an entrance. Someone had rehearsed my life, mapped my weaknesses, and waited. I thought of the quiet moments I'd spent walking into my house at night, keys in hand, never looking behind me because I always felt safe. That comfort suddenly felt like a luxury I'd carelessly assumed. "What happens now?" I asked, my voice smaller than I meant it to be. I hated sounding afraid, but fear clung to me like a damp second skin. Detective Pierce sat across from me. His expression softened, not in pity, but in that firm, grounded way people look when they know the world is dangerous and have chosen to stand in front of it anyway. We increase neighborhood surveillance. For now, you won't return home alone. We'll piece together who did this and why. We'll need statements from you and security footage from nearby businesses. And you will take every instinct seriously from now on." His last sentence felt like it was aimed at my soul. For years, I brushed away warnings, convinced logic alone was enough to navigate life. Tonight proved instincts could be the difference between safety and tragedy. I nodded slowly. "Thank you," I said, "for taking this seriously, for being there before I knew I needed help." It was strange thanking someone for saving me from a nightmare I didn't even know existed. Marcus walked into the hallway, still in his rain-soaked jacket. He leaned against the door frame quietly, like someone waiting for permission to step into a life that wasn't his. I looked at him and for the first time saw exhaustion in his shoulders and a subtle shake in his hands. He didn't look like a mysterious stranger anymore. He looked like someone who had carried responsibility heavier than I could imagine. I stood up and approached him slowly. "I didn't trust you," I said honestly. "I thought the worst." He nodded without hesitation. "You did exactly what you should have done." His voice was tired but sincere. "Fear isn't weakness. Trusting the wrong person is." That sentence stayed with me. Fear wasn't weakness. It was awareness, a human alarm system, yet it was also faith that saved me. Faith in the moment when I chose not to leap out of the car into darkness. Faith in the second when the unfamiliar headlights weren't a threat, but a turning point. Talia stepped beside me and spoke to Marcus too. "Thank you. I don't know how I would have lived with myself if she didn't come home." Her voice trembled, and I saw how tightly she had been holding everything in. She wasn't just worried tonight. She was terrified. She had been holding the emotional weight of my life in her hands since the moment she overheard danger. I hugged her, feeling how fragile and fierce love can be at the same time. Later, as officers quietly moved around gathering information, I sat by the window watching the early morning sky soften into pale blue. The world was waking up. Somewhere, coffee shops were opening. People were stretching, yawning, scrolling phones, believing their daily routines were safe. I had been one of them only hours ago. Now every shadow felt charged with meaning. Every silence carried possibility. The world hadn't changed, but my understanding of it had. I thought about my mom's voice telling me to trust instincts. I thought about Talia's urgent texts. I thought about how safety isn't guaranteed just because we believe we deserve it. Life demands awareness. It demands we listen, observe, and respond. But it also demands courage, because living scared is not living at all. I inhaled deeply and looked at my sister beside me, at the officers working, at Marcus in the distance quietly being debriefed. I didn't feel like a victim. I felt like someone who had survived, who had seen the thin line between everyday life and danger. And as strange as it sounds, I felt stronger for it. I turned to the camera in my mind, the one sharing this story with all of you, and spoke from a place deeper than fear. Trust your instincts. Respect your fear, but do not let it rule you. The world has darkness, yes, but it also has protectors, fighters, and people who will stand for you even when you don't know you need saving. And remember, sometimes danger looks ordinary, and safety looks unusual. Pay attention. Listen to your gut. Value the people who show up when it matters, and never assume you are alone. If this story pulled you in, subscribe to my channel right now and drop a comment telling me where you're watching from. Your support helps me share more real-life survival stories. Stay safe, stay aware, and never ignore the voice inside you that says something isn't right. You never know. It could save your life.